So welcome back to my YouTube channel. So mystery thriller has always been a comfort genre for me, apart from romance obviously. And there are some books which I know by the premise and my experience with them prior to that, whether this is going to be a book for me or not. But many of the times there are few books which surprises me because I don't think the premise is really up to my alley, and or I don't think I'm going to like this one. Or sometimes I get the opposite of that. I really like the premise, I really like the previous author's work, but this one didn't work for me. So it leads to a very disappointing read overall. So in this video we are going to talk about 5 surprising reads for me which went very well, and 5 disappointed reads for me which didn't go very well. So let's get started. So I'm starting with 5 surprising reads which went very well for me and I really like them a lot, more than I expected. The very first one is 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. So I read this in 2019, the year when I was not a huge fan of mystery thriller genre, and this one of the book which started my interest in this genre, and I picked this one because of the very interesting premise this one had. The story takes place in this English manor where all the guests are getting together for this big event. In the midst of this, we are following our main protagonist, Aidan Bishop, who suddenly wakes up in the midst of woods and finds himself not remembering much and in a completely different body. And soon he finds out that he is reliving this day over and over again with a new body every time. What he has to do is he has to find the killer of this murder that happened in this event, murder of Evelyn Hardcastle, and he has a limited time to do that. He gets the opportunity to relive the day with different perspectives as he's waking up in another body every time. And this is author's debut novel, and for his debut novel he did a fantastic job. There were a lot of things in this book reminded me of Agatha Christie, as she's one of my favorite authors. I could see so much of that in this book, especially the setup of this book and whodunit style. So you'll think that due to the structure of this book and the story of this book you will get repetition, but as we are reliving this day with a new body every time, we are getting their personalities, their weakness along with our main protagonist. So it added a different angle to this, different intrigue to this, and I didn't find it boring at all. It was really interesting, and the only reason I didn't give this 5 stars, it was 4.5 for me, because there were some choices the protagonist made by the end, so that was kind of iffy for me. But apart from this, overall book was really good. I still can remember a lot of things from the book which I really liked, and I will highly recommend this if you find this premise interesting. Second book is The Broken Girls by Simone St. James, and I have talked about this book in some other video, and this is one of her favorite work of mine. She is known for her dual timeline in mystery suspense genre, and this one is definitely one of my favorite of hers. We are following 2 timelines, 1950 and 2014. Both are connected to this boarding school, girls boarding school. In 1950 we are following these 4 roommates, and they are kind of sharing ghost stories about this boarding school and how they bond over there with this ghost story around the legend of this haunted spirit. And in 2014 we are following Fiona, who is still not over her sister's murder few years back, and she's a journalist and she's trying to solve this again. This is somehow connected to the events happened in 1950 around this boarding school, so we see how both timelines are connecting. I really like how Simone St. James created atmospheric ambience, especially in 1950s, because that was more of a ghost story. Present timeline 2014 one is more mystery suspense in this. I like 1915's one better, but I think how it all came together and the direction it went was really interesting, and didn't expect that. Overall my experience with this book was very good. I think this was one of my favorite of the year I read this. I read this in 2020 and I really like this one, so highly recommend it from my side. You should check this out if you want to start with any Simone St. James with the dual timeline. You should definitely pick up The Broken Girls. Third book is I Shot by Taylor Adams. So I picked this one after reading No Exit. He writes very good thriller, and this one was no different, but I didn't expect to like it as much as I did because the premise was not really something I read that much of. We are following this young couple who is traveling through Mojave Desert to start their new lives. In the middle of this, their car broke down, and they soon find out that someone is shooting at them, someone is trying to kill them. We are getting perspective of this couple as well as the killer who is shooting at them. I found it very interesting. The author spent so much time in the background of these 2 people. We are really invested in their relationship and really are connected to them. At one point I didn't know where this was going, going, because the premise is like we are open in this desert and someone is shooting them. So I didn't think that there's much scope of them escaping from that, but the way it played out, the action thriller scenes here were really interesting, and the way it plays out can be really good on screen. I didn't feel its pages at all and was completely invested throughout the story and completely rooting for this couple to get out of this situation, which I think is something which I really like in this kind of books. So next book is Confession by Kanei Minato. This is a Japanese psychological thriller, and this is completely different from any of the books in this list. We are right away starting the first chapter with this middle school teacher addressing her class and straight away telling them she knows which two of her students killed her young daughter and she's planning on taking revenge for the same. And you would think that, oh, this is not a mystery because we already know what happened, but it is much more than that, because after that first chapter we get into different perspectives of these students, teacher, as well as their families, and we get to know more about the why of it, why they did what they did, and how it is something deeper than that. Gets into the psyche of these narrators and how everyone is very flawed and no one is really likable here, and all of this gets into the ending, which was very surprising. Even with the very straight giveaway at the very starting, we got into place which was very surprising, and how we got there was really interesting. I really like this. I won't lie, this is a very slow paced book because there's nothing really revealing happening, but you are getting into psyche of these people and getting to know their guilt, their obsession, why they are what they are, and why they are doing what they are doing. So how it all played out by the end was really good. It was not completely realistic as per me, but I really liked the direction it went, and I overall really enjoyed it, even if it was slow in some places. But this was definitely a very underrated gem for me. I didn't know much about this book going into it, but I definitely was pleasantly surprised when I read this. So next book in the list is Murder in the Family by Kara Hunter, and this is another unique book in this list. It's a very interesting thriller, especially due to the format. We are following this case in a very documentary style. Instead of watching it on screen, you are reading it through these pages. So we are following these 6 professionals from different fields who are working together on this unresolved case for a documentary, and with their expertise and advancement, they kind of get into things which were unlooked in original investigation, and what started out as a very simple case completely get dissected by these people, and there are so many angles which were unlooked earlier, and now they are revealing these things. So the progression of this investigation is very interesting, especially with this format. You are reading this through different interviews of people and different conversations, emails, other multimedia formats. So I had a fun reading this book. It was really enjoyable and very addictive for me, especially because I like these kind of things. It didn't take much long to read this one because I was completely enjoying the experience. The only thing was that after 75% mark, this book kind of became this thing where twist after twist are just coming left to right to you. So it was quite exhausting, and there are a few things which were not resolved by the end. So I just found that one quite unsatisfying. That is the only reason I gave this 4 stars, even if some things were not very good, but I think it's worth the overall experience and you should definitely check this out. So that's it for 5 good surprises for me, and now I'm going to talk about 5 disappointments, which I think I mostly picked them due to hype and because everyone was really raving about it. Most of them. Few I picked because the premise was completely up to my alley. The book really let me down in that regard. So yeah. So these are the 5 books. So the next book is The Silent Patient, and if you read mystery thriller, you have heard about this book. This is the book I picked due to its hype and very good ratings. Everyone rated this 5 star when this came out, and I was one of the person who really wanted to like this, but it was so generic. And we are following this woman Alice who shoots her husband in the face and kind of never speaks a word after that. And we are following our main protagonist Theo, who is a psychotherapist, and he takes interest in this case and really wants to know what happened and is kind of obsessed with this case. And his goal is to get this woman talk, and for that he digs deeper in this case, and we are following him along the journey. The only thing I think this book was banking on was the plot twist. I didn't find it that interesting because the way author progressed this, the writing was okay, and it was also not very memorable. I remember the twist, I remember a few things, but it's not something which I think about. It is quite forgettable for me. So I gave this 3 stars. So it was a huge disappointment when I read this. Now I kind of don't think about it at all. Next book is The Girl on the Train. This is another overhyped book which was also adapted into movies. There is a Hindi movie and English movie on the same book, and honestly I actually prefer the movie to the book. The premise is that we are following Rachel, who is a girl on the train who is obsessed with the perfect life of this couple she sees every day from her train, kind of makes story about their life, and one day she sees something which makes her believe that there's something wrong with this couple. Everything is not hunky-dory with this couple, and then one day someone goes missing and she wants to investigate, as the protagonists in mystery thriller usually do, even if they doesn't concern them. Yeah, so that's the premise gist of it. Apart from Rachel, we are also getting perspective from 2 other women. There was nothing very inherently wrong with this book. It was just not interesting enough for me. I was really not interested in knowing about these people and the motivation behind it. Rachel is an alcoholic, so author plays with that thing, whether she's thinking is happening in her head or not. That has been overdone in mystery thriller, so this was one of the same. I didn't give a shit about her because I didn't like her and she was really hard to root for. I also didn't like other people in this book. This is a very trope heavy book. I think there's nothing unique about it. You read this and you forget about it. Also doesn't have that good of a plot twist. So yeah, overall the experience of this book was quite meh for me. This was another book I picked due to the hype, and I also watched the movie. So yeah. Next is Close Your Eyes and Count to 10 by Lisa Unger. This is one of the book I read last year, and it was also one of the books from my worst read of the year. We are expecting this to be a survival game show kind of book on an island, and that is the perfect setting for me to root for. But what I got from the story was so disappointing. This book starts with this single mother who is entering in this show due to financial issues in her life, and we are also following production team of this show. Problem with this book is that proper show starts at 60% of the book. Before this, we are getting snippets of few things happening in the show and the backstory of these people, which I didn't find very interesting. There are so many subplots in this book which were not developed further, and I didn't see the point of it. We are getting a plot with this woman Adele's husband, which didn't add much to the book. We are also following her children and the game that this boy is playing, and we are also following the drama surrounding the people related to this show. I don't like it when the main thing which sells me the story has no impact on this overall. It was another disappointing read for me. So the next book is The Chain by Adrian McEntee, and this is another book which had very good reviews, and that's why I picked this one. And so here we are following this divorced single mother and recovering cancer patient Rachel, who one day gets the dreadful call of her life, and she finds out that her daughter has been kidnapped by this criminal system called The Chain, who is preying on helpless parents and getting these people to do things to other children, and this kind of forms a cycle which they preys upon and which turns these victims into abusers. Rachel kind of decides to get deeper into the chain and gets to know more about what is this and how to stop them. So this book is about them. This is mainly divided into 2 parts. In the first part, we are seeing this thing happening to Rachel and how she deals with this, and in the second half of the book, we are getting to know more about Chain and the aftermath of what happened in part 1. I liked second part more. There was one part where we are getting deeper into the history of the Chain, and I liked that. That was interesting to read. But overall, otherwise, the present timeline didn't find it very interesting enough, and for the premise this it was not very thrilling for me. And there is also one forced romance subplot here which didn't add anything. It was not fully developed, and I didn't find any value on this. Anything why this was included in this book didn't make any sense, and only thing this book has going for it is it has short chapters and it is very engaging to read. So it's a good read in terms of engagement, but for this powerful plot, this didn't have that enough thrilling aspect for me to root for, so I didn't like it that much. So the another book in this list is The Guest List by Lucy Foley, another book which was very hyped and everyone was talking about this when this was released. Honestly, with this premise of wedding that is happening in this remote island and some murder happened and whodunit style, that was my expectation going into it. I completely thought this will be like And Then There Were None, which it was not at all. I think the author relied too much on scandalous tidbits, this drama that is happening in between these people, and not much into mystery part of this, and that is something I really don't like in mystery thriller books. That is the my least favorite thing that authors do. That was the same thing that happened with Close Your Eyes and Count to 10, and the similar thing I didn't like it. The only good thing about all 5 books in this list are they are very readable. Here Lucy Folly is very readable. They're very short chapters. It is addictive, but the payoff was very unsatisfying. We are following these people, their lives, their backstories, the drama in their lives, but the main mystery that started all this, which should be the hook of this book, wrapped up in last 10-15 pages. So yeah, that was very disappointing for me. I think this is the most disappointing book in this whole list because I really expected a lot from this, and I want to check Lucy Foley's other book because I liked her writing style. So if you have some other recommendation by her which is not similar to this, so I'll definitely pick that one out. I want to give her another chance. So these were all 10 books, my most surprising to most disappointing one, and overall I wouldn't say that I didn't enjoy any of them. I really like reading about this. These are most of these are very popcorn thrillers, are a good time, but when you have very high expectation from book, that also kind of gets you into reading slumps. This is also my comfort genre, so I definitely like to read about them. So yeah, that's it for the video, and let me know, comment below your surprise gem or your disappointing mystery thriller reads. I would definitely love to discuss them with you. See you next time. Bye.